The rain had finally softened, but the night's chill still clung to Tarek's bones as he sat quietly beside Elena's hospital bed. His mind raced. How had a barefoot boy from the streets become the lifeline between life and death? The baby's first cries had shattered the silence, yet a storm was only just beginning. Outside these walls, questions waited. Would society see Tarek as a savior or just another lost kid? Could a boy with nothing but knowledge and courage carve out a place in a world that had always looked away? As dawn crept over the city, one truth echoed louder than fear. This was more than a miracle born in an alley. It was the start of a fight for belonging, trust, and a future no one expected. And the road ahead was anything but certain. The night was dark and rain began to fall gently at just past 3 in the morning. Elena Greer, 9 months pregnant, found herself stranded on a deserted city street, the cold drizzle soaking through her designer clothes as she struggled to keep calm. Her contractions had started suddenly, far stronger than any she had felt before, the pain twisting through her body like iron claws. Alone in her custom matte black SUV, she had made it only 12 blocks before the engine sputtered and died at the intersection of Madison and Grandview. The dashboard flickered one last time before everything went dark. She pressed the ignition again and again, but the car refused to respond. Panic began to rise inside her chest. The baby kicked sharply, sending a jolt of urgency through Elena's body, and another contraction tore through her back, sharper this time, more fierce. She let out a sharp, guttural cry, grasping the passenger seat to keep her balance. Her phone was dead, of course. The city around her was silent except for the hum of a distant vending machine and the soft whistle of the wind. No other cars passed by. No help was in sight. The rain picked up, the droplets pattering relentlessly on the windshield. Elena wiped the sweat from her forehead and whispered to herself, trying to regain composure, "Okay, I'll just flag someone down." She opened the car door and stepped out onto the wet asphalt, her designer flats slipping slightly on the slick surface. She clutched her swollen belly and stumbled, calling out into the night, "Help! Please, someone help me!" Only silence answered. Then, through the darkness, a small voice emerged. Calm, steady, and unexpected. "Ma'am, I can help you give birth." Elena froze. She turned sharply, clutching her belly as if it could shield her from the impossible sight. Under a flickering street lamp, about 20 feet away, sat a boy no older than 12. Black, skinny, barefoot, and swallowed by an oversized hoodie that draped over his thin frame. His soaked gym shorts clung to his legs, glistening faintly in the weak light. He perched on a milk crate by the shuttered corner store that hadn't opened in years. He didn't move toward her. He didn't stand up or offer to come closer. He simply looked at her, serious, calm, as if he had been waiting there just for this moment. Elena blinked, disbelief and fear mixing with hope. "What?" she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "I said I can help you," the boy repeated, his tone steady. "You're gonna need someone soon." "I've seen this before." Elena staggered backward, her heel catching on the curb, and she grasped the door frame of her SUV to steady herself. Another contraction hit, her teeth clenched against the pain. "I'm calling 911, she shouted, fumbling for her dead phone again. The boy didn't flinch or argue. He simply said, "Your water's gonna break soon. Then you won't be able to walk." It was then that Elena noticed the dampness between her legs she hadn't even realized. "How do you know all this?" she whispered, a mix of fear and awe in her voice. The boy finally stood, his skinny legs bracing against the cold concrete. He didn't walk closer, just remained under the flickering streetlight. "My mom used to deliver babies," he said quietly. "At home. I used to help her. I know what I'm doing." Her mind screamed at her to run. But something deeper, a quiet, unexplainable voice she hadn't heard in years, whispered, "Trust him." Another contraction hit, stronger than before, and she collapsed to her knees beside the car, whimpering softly. Okay, she gasped. The boy, Tarek, walked slowly over to her, his hands visible, calm and sure. "You need to sit somewhere clean," he said gently. "Not the pavement, not the car seat. It's too low. There's a bakery behind you, covered porch. Can you walk?" Elena's nerves screamed in protest, but she nodded. Without a word, Tarek offered his arm. She took it, gripping tightly like a lifeline. His arm was thin but steady, His hoodie smelled faintly of gasoline and damp cardboard, but that didn't matter. For now, it was everything she needed. He guided her slowly and carefully around the back of the shuttered bakery. The awning provided just enough shelter from the steady drizzle. An old plastic lawn chair lay tipped on its side near the brick wall, stained and weathered. Tarek kicked aside some wrappers and unfolded a threadbare moving blanket he had stashed behind a crate. It was stained but dry. "Sit here," he instructed. Elena looked down at the blanket, hesitant, then back up at him. "You sleep here?" she asked quietly. He shrugged. "When it's not too cold or wet." With great effort, she lowered herself onto the blanket. Her breathing was uneven, face pale, sweat glistening on her skin. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Tarek Benson," he replied. She nodded, managing a weak smile. "I'm Elena." He nodded back and crouched beside her, scanning her face. "You're about 4 minutes apart now," he said matter-of-factly. Elena blinked in surprise. "You timed me." He didn't answer but instead lifted her wrist and checked her pulse. His fingers were cold but surprisingly gentle. "My mom used to say," he explained, "when they're 5 minutes apart, get ready. 4 minutes, stay close. 3, don't go nowhere." "Where is she now?" Elena asked. Tarek hesitated. "Gone," he said softly. Elena didn't ask how. Something in his voice made her stop herself. Another contraction hit. This time, she leaned forward, grabbing Tarek's hoodie, pain twisting her face. "I can't do this here. What if something goes wrong?" Tarek's voice remained calm. "You already started. You can't stop it now." He pulled out a few folded pieces of cloth, worn towels, one a faded baby blanket, another stained in a way that made her stomach churn. "I boiled them yesterday in the diner kitchen when no one was watching," he said quickly. "They're clean. I promise." Her head spun. How could this 12-year-old boy, a homeless street kid, be so prepared? So knowledgeable? Her body was terrified, but somehow, his steady voice kept her grounded. Tarek laid the towels out next to her, smoothing one under her back. "You gotta take deep breaths now. In through your nose, out through your mouth." She tried, but her body shook uncontrollably. "Hey," he said softly, "look at me." She did. "You ain't alone. I'm right here. Just like I was with my mom. I know what to do." There was something real in his tone, not rehearsed, not robotic, something that told her he truly believed it. She nodded once. "Good," he said. "Now tell me when the next one starts." A moment passed, then she squeezed his arm. "Now." He nodded. "That's number 6. You're moving fast." "Is that bad?" "It means your baby wants out fast. We gotta work with her, not against her." "Her," Elena whispered. He smiled faintly. "Just a feeling." She laughed shakily, half pain, half fear. "You better be right." "I am," he said simply. She grabbed his wrist again, voice suddenly sharp. "Tarek, if something happens to me—" "Nothing will," he interrupted. "But if it does, I'll take care of her. I swear." Their eyes locked. For the first time that night, something shifted inside Elena. Not the baby, but something deeper, trust. Maybe even surrender. The sky above was bruised blue, heavy clouds rolling low. Somewhere in the distance, a garbage truck rumbled along, but here, behind the shuttered bakery, it was just the two of them, and the sharp ticking of pain. Elena lay on her side now, one leg bent, gripping the blanket with white-knuckled fingers. Her back ached as if being torn in two. "How long?" she whispered. Tarek glanced at the cracked face of a broken wristwatch tied to his shoe. 3.5 minutes apart. Might be less. Elena let out a strangled sound. "It's too soon. My due date's not for another week." "Babies don't care about due dates," he said simply. "They come when they want." She grunted. "That's not comforting." He cracked a small grin. "Wasn't meant to be." The smile faded as he knelt near her hips and laid out a dry towel. He checked her face again, cheeks flushed, sweat lining her hairline. "You're doing good," he said. "Better than some grown folks I've seen." Elena breathed in deeply, held it, then let it out slowly. "How many have you seen?" she asked. "About 8. Her eyes widened. 8 births. "My mom did a lot of this," he said. "Why didn't she go to the hospital?" Elena asked softly. Tarek smiled faintly. "Sometimes folks didn't want to." He told her how she boiled towels, set up pillows, held flashlights, and sometimes held hands. When his mom fainted once, he had to step in. Elena almost laughed, until another contraction clamped her stomach so tight she sucked in a hard breath. "This one's bad. Oh God, it's bad." "You gotta breathe, Miss Alana," Tarek said firmly. "Don't fight it." She bit down on her lip and tried the breathing. The pressure was unbearable, but his voice kept her steady. He reached behind the crate and pulled out a bottle of water. "Drink," he said. "Where'd you get this?" she asked. "Back of the gym. Filter's busted, but it's good." She drank slowly, the water helping a little. A lull settled. Elena leaned back against the cold brick wall. "Where's your family?" she asked. Tarek hesitated. "Just me and my mom. After she died." He picked at the blanket edge, voice tight. "Foster homes didn't stick. I left." Elena's chest felt tight imagining this quiet, calm boy navigating such a hard world alone. Tarek cleared his throat. "A lot of people don't see us street kids. They just keep walking. I didn't see you until you spoke." "That's the trick," he said. "Sometimes you survive by being invisible." Another contraction. She gasped. "Big one coming." Tarek moved quickly. "You're about to feel pressure like you gotta go to the bathroom." "That's the baby moving down." Elena whimpered. No, it's too fast." "It's right on time. You ain't doing this alone." She closed her eyes, tears streaming, gripping his arm tightly. The first scream tore out of her like a gunshot, raw and animal. Tarek didn't flinch. One hand on her back, the other bracing her leg. "That means she's coming," he said. "Keep going." Alana was so tight she felt she might break, but Tarek's calm steadied her. Then, from the street, came an aggressive shout. "What the hell is going on back here?" The sharp voice from the street jolted both Tarek and Elena. A man in a black windbreaker, about 40 years old, holding a gym bag, strode toward the alley where they were. His steps were heavy and hurried, his face tight with suspicion and alarm. "What the hell is going on back here?" the man demanded, his voice sharp and accusatory. Tarek's head snapped up. He instinctively positioned himself between Elena and the approaching stranger, standing tall despite his youth and frailty. Elena, her legs braced against the ground in the middle of a contraction, moaned softly. Her eyes widened with panic as she looked toward Tarek. "He's helping me," she pleaded weakly, the exhaustion and pain threading through her voice. The man sneered. "Helping? He's just a damn kid. Where's your phone? You need real help." Tarek's voice was steady as he answered, "She's in labor, sir. I'm trying to deliver her baby. Her phone's dead. I've been helping her for over an hour." The man's eyes narrowed with disbelief. You're 12. You know what you're doing." Tarek's gaze didn't waver. "I do." The man's voice rose, laced with skepticism and fear. "I'm calling the cops. This ain't right. This ain't normal." Elena groaned again, this time long and low, her face contorted with pain. "Please," she begged, "let him keep helping. He knows what he's doing. He's the only one who showed up." The man hesitated, his hand hovering over his phone. The tension stretched tight in the cold night air. Tarek lowered his voice, calm but firm. "You can call 911. Please do. But while you're at it, grab that bottle of water over there and hand me that extra towel. She's in the middle of delivery right now." The man's eyes flicked down to Elena, her stomach pulsing, her legs trembling. Slowly, the reality settled in. A woman in labor, alone but for a boy who was calm, steady, prepared. He stepped back, wariness softening into reluctant acceptance. He knelt beside Tarek. "Okay, what do I do?" he asked, voice low and frantic. Tarek didn't hesitate. "Keep her head up. Talk to her. Don't let her drift away. Stay near her hips." The man moved to Elena's side, his tone soothing yet rushed. "Okay, breathe, lady. You're okay. You're okay. Elena's voice cracked. I'm not okay. It hurts so bad. I know it does, Tarek said gently. But she's almost here. One more push. I need you to bear down like you're lifting something heavy. Her lips trembled. Tarek, I'm scared. I'm right here. Then, it happened. Her body tensed, a piercing sound tore from her lips, half scream, half sob, as the baby began crowning. Tarek leaned in, towel ready, hand steady and confident. He had seen this before. His fingers moved with the delicate urgency of someone who had done this many times. A slick, wet head appeared, sliding gently into his waiting hands. He caught the newborn, tiny, warm, slippery. For a long moment, she didn't cry. Tarek stayed calm. He wrapped the baby in his hoodie and gently rubbed her back. After what felt like hours, a high-pitched, perfect cry filled the alley, echoing off the brick walls. Elena's eyes widened, glassy with relief. She's here, Tarek said softly. You did it. But time was running out. The alley fell silent again, save for the newborn's cries and Elena's ragged breathing. She lay back against the brick wall, trembling, exhausted. Her arms reached out blindly. Tarek carefully placed the baby into her arms like she was the most fragile thing in the world. She's okay, he reassured her. You're okay. Tears streamed down Elena's cheeks as she clutched her daughter tightly. She looked at Tarek with a look that transcended gratitude. It was awe, disbelief, and something else entirely. The man in the windbreaker stood quietly at the alley's edge, phone forgotten in his hand. Jesus, he murmured. I thought you were some kind of... I get that a lot, Tarek said without looking up. Elena tried to calm the baby, whispering her name softly. Dee, she said again and again, like a prayer. The newborn, pink and wailing, began to calm in her mother's arms. Tarek cleaned the baby's nose and wiped Elena's legs with towels. Then, pulling out a piece of dental floss from his bag, he prepared to tie the umbilical cord. Elena's eyes widened. Wait, what's that for? Tarek's voice stayed calm. Umbilical cord. My mom showed me how. I'll tie it, not cut it. We'll leave that to the hospital. She didn't protest. Too tired to argue, she just lay there, dazed, holding her child while this boy handled what no one else had. He looped the floss carefully, spacing the ties apart. The baby had quieted, blinking up at the early dawn light filtering through the alley. You've really done this before? Elena whispered. Not like this, Tarek said. But yeah, I saved her life. He glanced at the baby, then back at Elena. You did most of it. She shook her head slowly, still catching her breath. No. I wouldn't have made it without you. Behind them, the man in the windbreaker stepped into the street, trying to flag down help. A woman's voice called faintly from across the block, I'm calling now. Tarek wiped his hands on a rag. Help's coming. You just stay still. Elena reached out, touched his hand. You're not going anywhere. You understand. For a moment, his expression flickered, something like fear or disbelief, but he nodded. Soon, sirens echoed in the distance, their flashing lights bouncing off the buildings as an ambulance approached. You're safe now, Tarek assured her. The ambulance arrived swiftly, EMTs swarmed the scene, their urgency palpable. One paramedic froze, staring at the tableau, a woman on the ground, a newborn in her arms, and a soaked boy standing calmly with towels and dental floss. The woman pointed at Tarek. The EMT looked confused. He what? Tarek stepped back, raising his arms in a gesture of peace. She needed help. I knew how. I wasn't trying to. Elena cut through, loud and clear. He saved both our lives. The paramedic stared at him a long moment before asking his name. Tarek Benson, he said. You stay right here, the paramedic said gently. Tarek didn't move. Elena, barely conscious, still clutched her baby, reaching out to him. Then the weak cry of the newborn pierced the night. The paramedics worked fast. Elena's face was pale and lips dry, but she didn't let go of Tarek's hand. One EMT said with surprise, She won't let go. Another laughed softly, probably kept her from bleeding out. Tarek stayed close as they loaded her onto the stretcher. His shoes squished with every step. His legs trembled with the adrenaline crashing down, but he said nothing. He watched Elena and the baby with a quiet intensity. The ambulance ride was quiet except for the beeping of the heart monitor, the hiss of the oxygen valve, and the soft gurgling of the newborn. Tarek leaned back against the cold wall of the ambulance, staring at the ceiling. He didn't know what would happen when they got to the hospital. All he knew was he had gotten them this far. When they arrived at Mercy West Medical Center in Savannah, the emergency room staff swarmed them like bees. Elena was wheeled one way, the baby another. A nurse gently pulled Tarek aside, momentarily freezing at the sight of him, the boy on the ground, the newborn in his arms, the soaked hoodie that had just delivered life. The nurse asked cautiously, "Are you with her family?" Tarek froze. "Family? I was helping her." She frowned. "Are you her son?" He shook his head. "No. Brother." The nurse's brow furrowed. "Then who are you, sweetie?" Before Tarek could answer, a young couple appeared at the entrance, a woman holding a phone, pointing at Tarek. "That's him," she said. "That's the boy I saw helping her. I called the police, but he's not in trouble, right?" "No," the nurse said quickly, her tone softening. "He's not." A security guard approached, calm but cautious. "What's your name, son? Do you live around here?" Tarek hesitated. "Sort of. Anyone we can call for you?" "No." The guard sighed. "All right. Sit here for a minute." Tarek sat, quietly fidgeting, wrapped in a warm blanket, offered a sandwich and juice. No one yelled. No one threatened him. But no one came for him either. After an hour, a nurse returned. "She's asking for you." Tarek stood immediately and was led through the maze of quiet recovery rooms to a small private space. Elena sat up, hair pulled back, for in her arm, pale but alert. Her baby slept peacefully beside her in a rolling crib. "You came," she said softly. "They said you wanted to see me." Elena patted the chair beside her bed. Tarek sat, the weight of everything settling between them. She didn't speak at first, just looked at him, trying to grasp the reality of what had happened. "Do you understand what you did tonight?" she finally asked quietly. He nodded. "Do you know what would have happened if you hadn't been there?" He didn't answer. Elena leaned forward a little. "We would have died. Both of us. No one was coming. I would have passed out, and she would have." She didn't finish. Tarek looked at the baby sleeping with one arm curled near her mouth. "She's okay though," he whispered. "Perfect." They sat in silence for a moment before Elena asked, "Has anyone talked to you?" "Asked where you're going." He shook his head. "No one ever does." "Well," she said, her voice stronger now, "I'm going to." He looked unsure. She repeated herself, "That's what you asked me once, remember?" He nodded. "Well, what came after is this. I'm not letting you go back to the street. Not to an alley. Not to a blanket behind a bakery. Not anymore." He frowned. "You don't even know me," he whispered. "I know exactly who you are," she replied firmly. "You're the boy who saved my life. Who brought my daughter into this world with nothing but towels and a steady hand. You're the one person who didn't look away." Tarek's shoulders stiffened. "I didn't do it so I could get something," he said quietly. "I know," she said. "That's why I'm offering." He glanced toward the baby, who let out a soft grunt in her sleep. "So, what, you're just gonna take me home?" She smiled, tired but sincere. "Not like that. We'll go slow. But you need a place, Tarek. You need a shot. And my daughter," she nodded toward the crib, "she's going to know who brought her here. I want her to grow up knowing the kind of person you are." He didn't answer right away. He looked out the window as the sun started to rise, gold creeping over the roofs and parking lot. The streets below were waking, early risers, delivery trucks, nurses changing shifts. Elena waited. Finally, he spoke. "If I say yes, what happens next?" "You come home with me," she said. "Once they clear you, we'll figure out the rest. I have a guest room. You can stay there. Enroll in school. We'll talk to social services, the right way." Tarek swallowed hard. "What if they say no?" "We'll fight it. I have lawyers. I'll use every one of them if I have to. He shook his head, still processing. You're a millionaire. I'm a mother, she said, soft but firm. And I know a miracle when I see one. He studied her, then cautiously asked, Can I still wear my hoodie? She laughed. Wear whatever you want. Just wash it first. He cracked a smile, for real this time. Elena reached out and gently touched his hand. You're a part of our story now, Tarek. Whether you like it or not. He looked at her fingers, pale, clean, manicured, resting on his own for a long time. No one had touched him without flinching, without pulling away afterward. He didn't pull away now. The door opened, and a nurse entered holding a clipboard. Miss Greer, she said, social services is on their way. They want to speak to the boy, maybe ask him a few questions. Elena nodded. They can speak to me first. The nurse smiled and left. Tarek turned to her again. They always talk about what's best, but they never ask us. Well, she said, they're gonna ask this time. And you're going to tell them the truth. He didn't speak but nodded once. Elena leaned back in bed, her face softening. I was going somewhere fast, she said. Tarek, too fast. This baby slowed me down, in the best way. You showed me what I couldn't see before. He didn't know what to say, but he felt it. Then the baby stirred again. Tarek stood and gently leaned over the crib, adjusting the blanket like he'd done it 100 times before. Hey, little D, he whispered. You got no idea how loud you came into this world. The baby wriggled, sighed, then fell still. He turned back to Elena. I'll stay if I can go to school. She blinked. School. I want to finish, he said. My mom used to say knowledge is armor. I never forgot that. Elena reached for her phone. We'll make some calls today. Tarek looked out the window again. The city wasn't so scary in daylight. But Tarek's response wasn't what she expected. 3 months later, the auditorium at Westside Charter Academy was packed. Folding chairs, scattered applause, rustling programs folded and unfolded in laps. It wasn't a huge ceremony, just a mid-year welcome and recognition event. But for Tarek, it might as well have been the Oscars. He sat near the back, fidgeting with the collar of his new school uniform. The navy blazer scratched his neck, and his new shoes felt stiff. But he was clean. He was full. And he was sitting between two people who made sure he got there on time. To his left was Elena, in a tan wool coat and flat shoes, holding her baby girl bundled in a pink blanket, softly snoring. To his right was Principal Guerrero, clipboard and microphone in hand. I'm proud to welcome one of our newest students, she said as she approached the podium. Someone who's already shown more grit and grace than many adults I know. Tarek's name echoed through the hall. He stood slowly, a few claps, a few curious looks, a couple of whispers. He walked to the stage, hands in his pockets, heart hammering, eyes fixed on the floor. Tyreek Benson, Principal Guerrero said with a proud nod. Welcome to West Side. We're lucky to have you. He managed a small smile and a quiet, thank you. Then he turned to look out over the crowd. His eyes landed on Elena. She gave him a thumbs up, rocking baby D gently on her chest. She looked like someone who'd finally exhaled, after years of holding her breath. After the assembly, a few teachers came forward to shake his hand. One asked what his favorite subject was. Another told him she was impressed by his composure under pressure, clearly unaware of just how much pressure he'd endured. Back in the car, he sat in the front seat while Elena drove, one hand on the wheel, the other adjusting a pacifier in Dee's mouth. I still don't get why you made me go up there, he said. Because you belong there, she answered. He glanced out the window. It's weird what it is, being seen. Elena didn't respond right away. Then she said softly, it was weird for me too. For a while after I had her, everyone looked at you different, like you're fragile or dangerous or both. He nodded, understanding in a way most adults wouldn't. Do you still think about your mom? She asked. Every day, he said. She'd be proud. He looked at the baby, who was now hiccuping in her sleep. You sure you want to keep calling her Dee? I'm sure, she said. Some names mean something. That one does. He turned to her. You ever think about what would have happened if your car didn't break down that night? She exhaled slowly. Yeah. I think about it more than I should. And I think maybe it didn't just happen. She smiled. Maybe you were meant to be there. He said nothing, just watched the streets roll by as the car turned onto their block. The house wasn't massive. Nothing like the penthouse she used to live in. But it was real. Brick. One story with a yard that needed mowing, a little messy, a little loud. But lived in. A home. She parked, and he unbuckled before she even shut off the engine. He walked around, opened the back door, and picked up Dee in her carrier. She was heavier now, eating like a champ, always kicking. Elena grabbed her bag and followed him up the walkway. You know, she said, you don't have to carry her every time. He looked back, smirking. I like it. They walked inside. The smell of toast and laundry still lingered from the morning rush. Tarek placed the baby carrier in the living room, pulled off his blazer, and flopped onto the couch. Dee blinked up at him, then smiled, just a twitch really, but enough to make him sit up straight. She smiled at me, Elena said, dropping her keys in the bowl. She likes you. He grinned. She better. There was no ceremony, no big moment. But something had shifted. This wasn't charity. This wasn't pity. This was a new kind of family, built from chaos, held together by grit. And somehow it worked. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. They wear worn-out sneakers and carry memories that guide their hands. If this story moved you even a little, hit that subscribe button for more real, raw, and unforgettable stories. Stay with us.